hopefully you guys are familiar with this. It's a Sentimag system. It's used for the MagSeed, MagTrace, and the breast cases. So I'm just going to show you guys kind of setup, calibrating the probe, and how it works. The system itself is basically a super expensive metal detector. So they place a tiny seed within the breast lesion instead of the wire, and then this will detect that seed and tell them how far away it is, where their margins need to be, et cetera, if that makes sense. So when setting it up, you're going to have the system, you're going to plug it in. There's two components to it. There's a pedal that you can put by the surgeon's foot, and that's just going to click right into there. And then you're going to get the probe. The probe is going to come into the room sterile in the tray. And there's two ends, the cream and the black. There's two little arrows on it. You plug it in, and you turn it on in the back. So you want to do that like 10 minutes before the case at least, because of the magnetic, it needs to warm up. The temperature can affect the case. So turn it on, let it just warm up, let it sit there on the side. You guys were not aware of how to calibrate the probe, so I brought extras of these for you guys, but this is called a Phantom. And it's super easy. Basically, when the system comes into the room, you guys set it all up. You're going to take the probe, you're going to stick this little thing on top of it, and you're going to press the rebalance button. Let me start over and just tell you guys what this is. So the volume control is going to be here. The settings, 1, 2, and 3 are going to be here. And then the rebalance is here. The rebalance is, I equate that to kind of when you use a food scale and you're putting kind of food on, you're taking it off, you're trying to get that measurement, and then you tear it out. This is the same. So they're checking, the numbers are going up and down, they're setting it down, doing surgery, checking, setting it down. If the numbers are kind of going all over the place, then they just rebalance it. It's almost like tearing out a food scale. And then they start from scratch, okay? The settings themselves, so it's going to be 1, 2, and 3. 2 is majority of the time, 90% of the time, they're going to be on 2. It just means that's the middle ground, that's normal. The setting sensitivity is normal. If you go to 1, it's because the seed is very superficial, that signal is really high, and they want to figure out their margins. So if that's super close, every time they get close to it, it's just going to go to the highest signal possible, and they're not going to be able to figure out margins. So if you put it on 1, it's going to cut that sensitivity in half, so maybe they're able to gauge more so where they're at, if that makes sense. 3 is the opposite. If it's a really big breast, they're not getting a signal at all, it's like red in the negative, barely, well then 3 is going to double the sensitivity and they're going to get a higher signal. So they're going to be able to find that easier. Does that make sense? Majority of the time, it's just on 2. This little chart is going to live here. It has settings 1, 2, and 3, and it tells them what the numbers mean correlating to how far away they are from the seed. So if it's going to be on 2, then 2,500, they're 1 centimeter away from the seed. So they know, okay, well, I'm 1 centimeter, I can do my margins now. They know all that. They understand that. You guys don't need to worry about it, but if they just tell you to change the settings during a case, that's what that means. So when you calibrate the probe, when you come in, we want to make sure that these are working. You were in here last case, but there's been some issues here with sterilization, how it works. UCSF has to figure it out for themselves as to what their protocol is going to be, but as of right now, it comes in sterile. The surgeons take the sterile and they check a transcutaneous signal to make sure they mark it. Then they wipe this down, then they put a drape over it, and then they use it in the case. I want you guys to calibrate and check the probe prior to the case because the surgeons are getting frustrated that the probes aren't working in the case and then they have to switch it out and they think it's sterilization. There's a whole thing. So to check the probe prior, all you're going to do is take the probe, put it on setting 3, press rebalance and put this cool little cap on here like this. And as soon as you see the numbers, it's done rebalancing, you take this off and it goes to 300, give or take 30. If it's 70, it's not going to ruin the case. Just if it shoots up thousands difference, that's when you have to be like, let's try that again. And if it keeps doing that, get a different probe for that case. Because then somebody dropped this, something happened. You don't want to mess with it. So again, rebalance, put this on, and all you do is when it's done rebalancing, take it off and it shoots up plus or minus 30. Okay?
So how do you know it's valid? Just see between scale balance.
Oh, that little thing. So this thing, it will turn to numbers. So it's like, oh, I'm balancing, and then it just goes to the numbers. So then if you do it the opposite way, it's going to shoot up 300. So the first way of doing it is to put it on and remove it when it's rebalanced, and it shoots red, plus or minus 3. And then the other way is if you just hold it like this and you wait till it's done rebalanced and then put it on, it's just gonna go yellow, 300, plus or minus. Okay? This is in the breast finder. If there's any issues, it walks you through it, step by step of how to do it.
Where's the cap?
This?
Yeah.
So you guys didn't have any, so I brought 3 new ones. I'm giving them all to Joel. Melody's not here today. I'm gonna make sure you guys, she knows exactly where they are so that you guys know where they are. I don't wanna just leave them somewhere today because then they're gonna get lost. Like this beautiful system normally has this really neat probe holder. I don't understand how stuff disappears, but it's not there. And it literally screws onto the bottom. So you can't, well, I mean, obviously you can take it off because it's not here, but I don't understand. Yeah, I know. Believe me, the same thing happens at Loma Linda, like teaching hospitals. I swear, like stuff just disappears. Like it just disappears. So, little tips and tricks. This is like 10 grand. You don't want to drop it. When you're taking off the cover, a lot of times you guys put the little rubber band here. Don't just pull it off. Like take the rubber band off first because that slowly opens this up, and then debris stuff gets in there, and then it all goes bad from there. So just if possible, take the rubber band and then remove it. Wipe it down with like sanitizer wipe in the room. It should not be submerged in water. It should not have a wet sponge on it. No, nothing like that should ever. It should not be used without a cover because then blood will get in there. Okay. The other trick is if you are a tech and you're in a room by yourself with a surgeon and it is doing like the most annoying sound the whole time because it's sitting there while the surgeon is doing that, all you have to do is set this on something metal. As soon as like retractors, whatever, it will zero it out and go to 9999. And then when the surgeon picks it up, they'll just rebalance it and they'll continue to use it. But just a tip, because that sound is, it's annoying when you can't turn it off. So just put it on metal retractor, metal mat, whatever it is you guys want to do. Otherwise, you start the case on 2, you're good to go, and that's pretty much it. It's very simple. Do you guys have any questions?
Does it matter if you turn it on before you plug, or you have to plug before you turn it on?
I mean, if you turn it on when it's not unplugged, it's going to give you this weird little error and tell you it's not plugged in, but it doesn't.
Most of the time it's the resident is talking about, and then they get the probe, they
Yeah.
just plug it.
Yeah, so,
You don't even balance. I don't think you can.
yeah, no, they're not doing this for sure. So that's why we're kind of telling you guys in the room, even before the patient comes in the room, you can also just check it if you want to really fast. Again, I don't really know how it's going to work because it's sterile, but then they unsterilize it for the transcutaneous, but then they put, I don't know. We were talking about this in the last group, and no other facility does it that way. They have to, we can only provide guidelines, and they have to decide how they want to do it. So, per guidelines, per infection control, per UCSF. So, right now, I'm just saying somehow, per Joel and Sharon, and however they want you to do it, I would check the probes prior because the surgeons are getting frustrated when it's not working during the case, and that's going to cause more delays and more issues. So for right now, they're going to unsterilize it anyways. Check the probe prior to the case.
And then, like, if it's not in the plus or minus 300, it's just a bad throw.
Yeah, if it's shooting all over the place, thousands. If it's like, oh, it went to 350, not 330, no, you're fine. But if it goes up and shoots to 5,000, then try it again. If it keeps doing that, then yeah, take this over to Biomed or have them come up, get a different probe for that case. We'll come in and we'll check it and see what's going on.
So currently, when we use it, we put it in a holder with a metal instrument so it doesn't make that
Yeah.
noise you just talked about. And then they use it for 1 second, put it back, 1 second, put it back. We never, in between like the metal and the using it, we never rebalance it.
They know it, the system.
Okay.
So it's like with newer surgeons, I have to tell them because they're like, well, why is it different? Why is it one off? You know, they know the system. They're good at what they do. The surgeons, I trust them. I always tell surgeons, if it's red and it's shooting all over 500 to 1,000, then rebalance it. But again, they know it so well here and they've been using it for so long.
So you don't have to every time.
You don't have to every time. It's kind of their own comfort.
Just to quiet it. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions, concerns?